5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a breath. Let's dive in. Is it a brave new world, or is it a world that is ignorant? And because ignorance is bliss, it seems that it is brave. We live in an era of immeasurable wealth, an era of countless technological advantages, an era of connectivity. The social network is something that is vastly expanded, and yet we are still ignorant. In the era of information, we have less information than at any other point in history. We're less informed, we're less educated, and we're less capable. I would say the odds are stacked against us because knowledge truly is power. And if we have power, we can move forward. To not have a say in certain things is like robbing a person of all dignity and rights. There's a lot of angry people out there, a lot of young people who feel like they aren't good enough, or they feel like there is no future for them. To a certain extent, they're absolutely right. The world has changed, and yet we are all taught the same things. We're taught in a way which would suggest that the world hasn't changed, but the world has changed. 401ks have replaced pensions. Your college degree doesn't really mean much. There was a time where your college degree, it really held a lot of weight. And if you worked for a company for a long time, you'd have a pension. A pension was a guarantee, and you'd also have your Social Security. So in many cases, you'd have individuals, they made more money during retirement than they did when they were working. How many young people can say that when they retire, they will have a 401k? The 401k isn't a guarantee. If the economy, you could have $2 million in your 401k right now, and if the economy goes down, well, there goes your money. There is no guarantee. You can have a Roth IRA. Is there going to be such a thing as Social Security for a lot of these young people? Who knows? People are living longer. That will pose its own problems in the future when it comes to infrastructure. But what about the young people? What about their future? What are they working towards? And then they ask themselves, what's the point in working so hard if it's not going to lead to anything? The generation before, they were buying a house. Say the housing market was $125,000 for the average house. Well, now it's 4 times that. The average home in the United States is around $430,000. College was vastly cheaper back then as well. So what is the point? Because they're going to keep working, and their hard work isn't going to yield the same results as it did 30 years ago. These are things that should be addressed. A lot of young people, they're not taught financial literacy. A lot of people, they think that they're not moving forward. Well, they're not, but they don't even know why. They don't realize that the world has changed. They don't realize the cost of goods have increased to a point where it makes no sense. They don't understand that because that was not their reality before. This is the reality they were born into. And this is normal. And so if this is normal and they're under such stress and such pressure, if this is their normal, maybe that's why this generation has so many mental health issues that the other generations did not have, because the other generations had more than the generation of today. For example, how many people even own their phones? That's not even common anymore. More and more people don't own things. And if they don't own things, that means that more of their income is going towards paying off things, whether it's a car payment, whether it's their iPhone or their TV or what have you. The future is not that of ownership for them. In the era of subscriptions, in the era of click, in the era of swipe, and not the era of tangible money in their hands, it's harder for them to grasp the concept of saving when that's not something that was instilled in them. The schools have done a very poor job at truly educating kids. I think we should get back to the basics. Get back to the fundamentals of just teaching human beings how to function in society. Sure, most people don't have checkbooks, and so they don't know how to balance a checkbook, but most kids should be taught how to budget, because these are the things that are going to propel them forward. Being able to function and knowing how things work is already a leg up. I think kids today need to be inspired again. And by kids, I'm referring to those who are below 25 years old. I think that inspiration is something that could lead to something that would bring America to a new golden era. And that's missing. That spark isn't there anymore, and we need to get that back. What fascinates me about reality is that we're occupying the same time and space, but we're not occupying the same reality. The person that is 65 years old, the person that is 45 years old, and the person that's 25 years old are all alive at the same time, but they're not occupying the same reality. Their perception of the world is vastly different. The things that affect them, whether it's mentally or financially, are different. It almost seems the younger you get, the less possibilities there are for you. Whereas the older you get, there are more possibilities for you, whether financially speaking. So the decisions that young people make today are going to affect them way into the future. But if we're living life as if society hasn't changed and culture hasn't changed and the economy hasn't changed, then they're not adequately equipped to meet those challenges in the long run. For example, if when your parents went to college, the total cost of their tuition was $15,000. When you go to college, your grandparents went to college, and the total cost for them to go to college, we'll say that it was $3,000. And then you're in college, and total cost of tuition for you is $80,000. Even if you all had the same degree, again, you're all occupying the same time, the same space, but not the same reality. The reality is that the decision that you made to go to school and pay $80,000 for your education puts you behind financially. Your parents went to school and they paid $12,000 for their education or what have you. These aren't exact numbers. $12,000. Well, that didn't really hinder their chances in the future. And then your grandparents, if they spend $3,000 to go to school, well, that's not hindering their future. And then to pile things on, if the high cost of housing was cheaper back then, so say that you spent $3,000 on your education, but spent $50,000 to purchase your home, and then when you retire, you're going to have a pension. The equity in your home is going to go up, and you're going to have Social Security. I think that your future is bright. Versus you are in a situation in which schooling was $80,000. And to buy a home is $430,000, not to mention all the other costs, whether, paying for, a vehicle and such. You're at an extreme disadvantage. So no wonder young people feel the way they do. No wonder mental health is such a crisis in this country. Because is the future bright? Well, for some people it's bright and for some people it isn't. And I'm not saying that there aren't opportunities out there, but let's just face it. Not every human being in society has the same level of intelligence or are capable of the same things. The whole notion of doing what you love may not be something that exists in the future for the future generation. It's going to be do what makes money. And if money is the thing that everyone is chasing, we can only hope to have a more materialistic society in which people are going to feel empty because all they're chasing is money just to survive. And if survival is the mode that every individual is in, then that makes for a terrible society. There's a society without care, because then the further we go into the future, the more we care about wealth and the less we care about people. And the more we become numbers. And that's going to open a whole new can of worms. So I ask you this, is it a brave new world? If you enjoyed today's content, please like and subscribe for more.